Hello. Running a little bit late today. Sorry about that. For some reason, my browser was giving me trouble, so I had to log in through Safari because, and that's the weird part, Google wasn't wanting to work with StreamYard, which, to my understanding, the two are intended to work together very well. So, not really too sure what the deal was, but I managed to get access through Safari, which I generally am not able to do, but it worked out. I'll need to go back and tinker with my settings later today and see why it wasn't allowing me to use my microphone. But yeah, I had a pretty, I wouldn't want to say relaxed, but it was a productive morning. I got up early, went and got an oil change. Hey, Slipknot, thanks for stopping by. How are you doing today? I went and got an oil change. From there, I went and for some odd reason, I felt like I wanted to eat some nostalgic stuff. So I picked up some Chef Boyardee and grabbed some ravioli and spaghetti. I know it doesn't taste the same as it did when I was a kid. And I don't know if that's due to taste buds changing or if the actual recipe itself changed. Doing okay. That's good to hear. So, yeah, who knows? But then again, my allergies have been acting up. Hope you're well. I'm doing okay. Yeah, I was about to say my allergies have been acting up lately. I've had congestion all week and now I've got the sniffles, and I grabbed some Mucinex while I was in town, so hopefully that gets me cleared up. I'm tired of being stuffy. So I'm hoping to see some change at least by tomorrow. I don't think I really did too much else. I stopped at H-E-B grocery store. I don't know if you guys have that in your region. I think it's more of a Southwest Texan thing. And grabbed some waters that were on sale. They were 2 for $9. You should try fasting. I've done that in the past. It didn't dawn on me to try it now. But yes, it is something that I do habitually from time to time. Generally, I try to do it once every quarter just because it's good to keep things running or cleared up. But no, I hadn't thought about that at all. So my throat is still giving me a little bit of trouble. Hopefully the throat clearing doesn't become annoying. H-E-B doesn't exist in England. What kinds of grocery stores do you have over there? If you don't mind me asking. Yeah, we used to have a really old one down south called Super S, which I don't think it exists anymore. I know in the late 90s they started closing up stores. But yeah, I'm just waiting a little bit longer to see who else comes into the chat before we start the discussion. But yeah, I really don't have anything else planned. I was wanting to go to the cinema today. Hopefully I can make the 4:30 show. I was wanting to watch Beetlejuice. Have any of you guys seen it? If so, is it worth the watch? For the longest time it had been rumored that it was going to be a film, and then nothing ever happened, so eventually I lost interest in it. And now all these years later, there's finally talk about it and the film exists. So I'm hoping it's worthwhile. Bad sequels are always never fun, especially if it doesn't carry the same spirit as the original film. So those are some heavy shoes to fill, in my opinion. So, but I'm curious to watch that and see if it's any good. I am interested in the fact that Jenna Ortega is in this one. She really didn't catch my interest until Wednesday. Before then, I had no idea who she was. HEB in Texas is a staple. Yes, definitely, especially with all of their coupons and their deals. It's definitely worth it. Fun fact, just now walking out of HEB. That's funny. Yeah, I was there earlier myself. Let's see. I don't have my glasses. Tesco, Sainsbury's, Marks and Spencer, Morrison's, Waitrose, Lidl, Aldi. Aldi sounds familiar. I've heard of that one before. Those are the stores in England. Can you see the list posted? Yeah, it took me a little bit to get to it, but yeah, I definitely need to see about getting glasses. I've been without them for a while. My dog decided to use them as a chew toy, but that'll teach me to forget them out on the picnic table. There is an Aldi in my area. I imagine it's similar to Randall's, kind of one of those membership type grocery stores. I could be very, very off though. Pimp tweet ahoy. Awesome. Thank you, Marty. You're always awesome. But yeah, let's see. What other types of grocery stores are out there? I can't really think. Walgreens isn't really a grocery store, but they do carry some stuff. Oh, yeah? But yeah, I don't have too much planned for today. That's my dog growling in the background. I don't know what the Calm down. I'm going to talk about the movie. Hot take, I prefer Near Dark to this. Apologies. I've heard that. I didn't watch Near Dark until I was an adult. And I don't know. The first time I ever saw redneck vampires was True Blood. And I didn't really take too much after Near Dark. Just the fact that people always say it's better, or yes, what is it? Is Star the Wendy of this movie? Actually, what happened is I forget the mom's name. It just slipped me. I have it in my notes written down. But originally the mom's name was supposed to be Wendy. Since of course the film title is a reference to the Lost Boys. Beetlejuice is way too similar to how Sin. Oh, really? Maybe I'll skip it. Yeah, Sin City was a total letdown. It was doo-doo. I haven't seen Bill and Ted, but yeah, maybe just too much time in between. Oh yeah, the hunky saxophone man lives rent-free in my soul. He's Slipknot. Yeah, that's definitely one of the more iconic scenes. Guys, they feel like talking. I like how grungy Near Dark is. It's got half the cost of Aliens, so that wins in brownie points in my book. Bill and Ted 3 was a big letdown. Well, that sucks. I kind of suspected it wouldn't be as great, but maybe I'll just wait until it hits streaming. I don't think I'd want to waste ticket money then, if it isn't all that. Settle down. Hey. I haven't seen Near Dark. I'll have to check it out if you put it over Lost Boys. Mm, that's been the great debate. I guess it's the Star Wars versus Star Trek of vampire films. Yeah, and maybe that's my issue is I waited too long to watch it. I didn't really watch Near Dark until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I wasn't really impressed. To me, Lost Boys has so many iconic scenes in it. Everything from the boardwalk scenes, which are a huge chunk of the film, even down to the sax player guy who I didn't know until this morning he was on break, I believe, from touring with Tina Turner at the time. So they snapped him up for the film. And he went ahead and did that scene, which oddly enough, if I read correctly, he also did push-ups in between takes because he wanted to look all nice and swolled up. That is definitely one greasy sax player. I don't know. Would you guys consider the sax player to be part of the sex appeal of the film, or do you consider it strictly to be limited to the vampires, which they had aged the characters? It wasn't Joel. Was it Joel Schumacher? Originally, it was someone else who was going to direct the film, and it was intended more to have been a Goonies version of a vampire film. Which I don't like Goonies either. I wanted to like it just because people say so many good things about it, and I think that's also an issue. Is I waited until I was too old to watch it, so I watched it a couple of months back, and my first thought was it isn't that great. But it happens. There are tons of films out there that I still haven't seen that are cult classics. Citizen Kane, I'm hoping, is one of the ones that turns out to be a better watch. I think the character is called, oh, okay, The Believer. What? I've got an issue with Lost Boys Dynamite. Oh, comic book series. He got his own issue? I don't know if you're telling me or if you're asking me. I don't think he ever did. But yeah, I remember this film from, geez, I was still a kid when this was out. I was about 5 years old, and we had a bootleg copy of this. Oh, he has his own issue. Oh, he did. I didn't know about that. What was the whole premise of that one? Like, did it have a whole vampire theme to it also? But yeah, I remember watching this as a kid. We actually had a bootleg version of it, and I'm told it's one of those films that my sister and I watched so many times that our older brother got sick of it. He watched it so many times with us that he actually dreamt new scenes into the film. Catherine Bigelow directed Near Dark and Point Break, one of my favorite movies. She also did The Hurt Locker. I haven't seen The Hurt Locker yet, but I've heard good things about that one. But yeah, is it pronounced Diane West? Diane Weist. She was Schumacher's first and only choice to play the mom character, and I wish the name would come to me. I have it jotted in my notes, but it's not ringing a bell right now. But yes, this film and oddly enough Mannequin are the ones that my sister and I watched the most growing up. Point Break is great. I love that one. It leaves me surprised at the reason that, or actually I'm more surprised at the fact that Keanu Reeves didn't become a bigger name due to that film, but I guess he was overshadowed by Patrick Swayze. And then, of course, I think most of us are familiar with the fact that Lost Boys is more of a Peter Pan reference. Oh, I always get Diane West and Diane Keaton mixed up. Yeah. For the longest time, believe it or not, I didn't know The Lost Boys was a Peter Pan reference, but thinking on it, it does make sense, I guess, with the whole ideology that they were going with is the fact that even the Peter Pan himself never ventures out until nighttime. He goes and grabs Michael and Wendy, and I forget the other brother's name, and they go on these adventures at night, which they pretty much do early on in the film when Michael is being all stalkery and chasing Star around. They run into David and the gang, and we have that beach scene, which I love. I think that's one of the best scenes, but I think the song is what really makes that scene. Yes, one of the most unique vampires in the movie. Yeah, David is my favorite. And I always thought growing up that he was one of the more handsome ones, but that's me going back watching it as at 12 years old, thinking this. Jason Patrick, very likely I missed the bus on that. I don't know. He's not bad looking, but I don't consider him terribly handsome. Yes, I do not recall how to pronounce his name. AKA the Believer. His character was vampire hunter on a crusade against the vampires of Santa Clara, and one of his lines in it was, "I knew you were a demon because you didn't feel the music." You would think they would feel it more. They always say rock and roll is the devil's music. That's funny. So, no, I never heard of that. I did hear that. I know I'm skipping all over the place. I'm trying to stop that. Sorry if it's getting annoying. But yeah, I did hear that there was because of course there was never a sequel to The Lost Boys. I believe there was supposed to have been a spin-off called The Lost Girls, which never got the green light. Instead, the studio chose The Tribe and that other horrible sequel over it. Which, why on earth, I don't know. I suppose they thought it was more marketable. Yeah, yeah, it is. I didn't think about that. There was glitter in the blood, and then I believe in how they exploded, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. But no, I totally forgot about that, and I was rewatching it this morning. I didn't get to finish watching it. I got up to the dinner scene with Max. He uses the he uses the music like the Pied Piper to lure demons and vampires to kill them, but the Frog Boys beat him to it. He turns up a nice bit in the comic. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. But I don't know, am I wrong? Because the night beach scene, to me that's one of the most iconic scenes in the entire film other than the sax player. I can't really think of anything else that stands out too much, at least for me, as far as one of the scenes that people usually go to whenever you mention or think about the Lost Boys. But oddly enough, it was during the motorcycle scene. Kiefer Sutherland, I don't have the specifics, but I don't know how it was that he came to fall off of his motorcycle. He injured his hand. So in those early hotel scenes, that's why he's wearing the leather gloves, is to cover his hands or to keep them protected. But there is so much information out on this film. It's interesting. I'm half thinking maybe I should have done a watch along rather than a film discussion, which I don't know. But yeah, definitely one of those definitive 80s movies for me. It's one I've seen a lot, but I don't know, for some reason it never came to mind that this should be a go-to film. I don't know if you guys consider it one of the go-tos as far as the 80s or as far as vampire films, but it was definitely a favorite growing up. I rented it numerous times from the video store. No, I totally forgot about that. Did you mention the beach attack scene or the scene where they... No, the hanging from the bridge, I haven't gotten to that yet, but... No, I haven't gotten to that one yet. The beach attack scene, is that what the one where they rip the convertible roof off of the vehicle? The two people that stole the... Was it a Mad comic? The girl's just giggling away, and this guy's trying to make out with her, and she's totally not even into it. He's making these dog barking sounds. She slaps him. He's like, oh. And then they get attacked, which I think is... I don't know. That scene just makes me giggle. Just his reaction to it. But yeah, I can't really think of any other of the better known vampire films from the 80s other than Near Dark, which they always seem to be in competition head to head, and there's always been a debate on which film is better. But yes, for Near Dark, something about it, I just didn't like that film. I don't know if it's the fact that it has a more serious tone, that it seems to drag on a bit, whereas Lost Boys, I lean more towards, because it does have those comedic breaks. Grandpa is a good comedic character, where you have those scenes about him owning a TV guide, even though he doesn't own a television. Yes, Fright Night is a good one. I didn't think about that one. Let's see. Fright Night is a good one. I didn't think about that one. It's one of those ones that I don't watch that often, but oddly enough, Jerry Dandridge did inspire somewhat towards the film, as far as he's not really a pretty boy vampire the entire movie. He has this transformation where he becomes grotesque, so that's what caused the interest in the whole wanting to transform the teenage vampires, as far as wanting them to look more fierce, which I think it works out really well. I never noticed until today that Kiefer Sutherland, his makeup is a little bit more subtle than everyone else's. Like, you can still really make him out, other than the fangs and the contacts, which really add to the look. But yeah, I'm sorry, I have my notes in front of me, but I wished I had put everything in order. I'm jumping back and forth everywhere. And then, of course, I haven't seen the movie in so long. I wish it was more fresh in my mind. I was rewatching it, and I didn't get to finish it before it was time to stream, because I had been out running errands earlier today. And I guess quick question is, do you guys prefer that I change the showtime? Because I know sometimes I bump it back so I can have more time to get my preparation, whether it's notes or actually doing like a last minute watch of the film. I know I brought it up in the community tab on my page, and some of you had said it was a good idea, but I really didn't get too much feedback, which is why I kept things the way they are. But yeah, just a little quick curiosity while I'm remembering that. But let's see. But yeah, the beach attack scene, which follows that's before the motorcycles, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yes, where did it go? Someone mentioned the vampires dancing on the punks dancing on around the campfire and then getting attacked. That's also a really good scene as well. And actually, I think that's the first time we get a glimpse at how violent these vampire teenagers are. I love that one scene where, I don't think it's David, I forget who it is. He bites into the skull of one of the guys, and you see this blood spurting out everywhere, which I think that was very well done. It's a good scene. And it fits right along with the film. It's not one of those sore thumbs that sticks out and you're thinking, why in the world is this here? Or you feel knocked out of the film because it's some left field thing that gets thrown in. Oh, okay, yes, I missed it. Sorry about that, Slipknot. Yeah, that's the one with one of the vampires bite someone's head like an apple and blood spraying out. Yes, I love that. That's one of yeah, that's a pretty good kill. I don't think there are too many creative ones. Like, really thinking about it, we don't see too many attacks. We have that the people out on the beach, which was mentioned earlier, and then as far as the boardwalk, nothing really happens there too much other than Star is introduced and Michael decides to chase her around, not knowing whether or not she is or isn't taken. Runs into David, not knowing if he's going to get into a fight with him. But yeah, just that look on his face when he sees Star get onto the motorcycle with David, and it's kind of like this whole he's baffled because I would say yeah, she's flirting back with him. She's definitely got an interest, and it's never clear to me in the film whether or not Star and David are an item. The whole vampire clan, it's pretty much a boys club where they all hang out and do their own thing, and Star's the one random girl who she kind of just stays behind, especially during that bridge scene. She stayed behind. She came along obviously during the motorcycle scene where they were all headed out to the hotel, but she stayed behind, and I don't think we really see too much from her. She's just kind of like this sidearm character, which I guess we really don't need much more from her. I would have liked to have seen more development with Star, but she isn't really one of the main characters, so I guess it's not too big a deal. But it's never explained how Star and Laddie came into the group, like how Max wanted to turn Michael and Sam in order to recruit the mom. And I don't know if it's a situation where David was interested in Star, so they recruited her and her brother as a way of having her come along. That's one of those unknowns which it makes me curious at least, but I don't know if that's one of the deleted scenes that was part of the film. There was a novelization of the Lost Boys, which included, I believe, 10 deleted scenes from the movie. I don't know if it's on the special features. I never bought any of the anniversary editions. I got it the first time around when the film was first released onto DVD. And I don't have any Blu-ray copies, so as far as that, I'm not really too sure what I'm missing out on that end. I heard that they were thinking about making a spin-off from the granddad from the Lost Boys, his younger days as a vampire hunter. Don't know if it's true. That would be pretty cool. I don't know if there really was any indication that he was a vampire hunter. I know he was really into taxidermy, which creeped out Sam. But yeah, that house was full of dead animals. The Forsaken from 2001 was a good throwback to both Near Near Dark and The Last Boys. Sexy folks, lots of gore and nudity. Hmm. I haven't seen The Forsaken in a very long time, so I wouldn't be too sure about that. Salem's Lot, Fright Night, and The Lost Boys, three best vampire films in my opinion. Those are good ones. Salem's Lot, at least from the Stephen King universe, I don't think no, I'm wrong. He did touch vampires again. There was Night Flyer, which no one really talks about. But I don't know. I think it's a me thing. Salem's Lot seems to be a little bit slow of a film. I have seen the remake, which was the Rob Lowe version, which a lot of people seem to be not too keen on. I think it's grand, but I'm on the other side of the globe, so it's handy for me. I'm not too sure what that was in response. I'm just getting around to the comments. Sorry. Sorry, Marty. Larry, did you ever get the David and Michael Lost Boys figures when NECA did their Cult Classics line? I didn't know there was one. That would have been cool. I used to collect figures myself. Um, I know I had Jigsaw from the Pig Mask figure from the obviously the Saw films, but I even had an Elvira. I don't remember who put that one out, but yeah. Let's see. So of course we touched on the Peter Pan reference. I don't know. Would you consider Star to have been the tiger lily of the group, since Mom was intended to have been named Wendy originally, but her name changed? Michael and Sam were originally Michael and Peter. And what was it? Nanook is the one that makes me the most curious, because Nanook was a take from what was it, Nanette, which was the dog in the Peter Pan story, but Nanook also means polar bear. So I don't know, just an Icelandic reference, I suppose. The time I stream at, oh, okay. It's handy for me because it's like 8 p.m. Yeah, it is. And I've been streaming at 8 o'clock for so long, I imagine that most everyone is used to it. So whenever I announce something, even if, say, I have to do a last minute announcement that I'm bumping back the stream, I think it's easier for everyone to remember. But yes, the Peter Pan reference, and I never thought about it before. The whole, it's mentioned even in the Lost Boys, the whole never grow old, never die, but the Lost Boys themselves never ever seem to grow up. And I think as far as drawing in the younger crowd, David and everyone else are the perfect age group. This was a summer film, so you had a lot of the bigger names, which were, I guess, the hot ticket items at the time. Jason Patric, the two Coreys were in the film, which they later became an 80s icon. But I don't know, would you say that sex appeal was purposely added, or just the fact that they had some pretty boys in there just pretty much added to it? Jamie Gertz is also a very pretty lady. The addition of motorcycles and leather jackets was pretty cool, but aside from David and Michael, I don't think anyone else ever really wore leather jackets. It's a monster squad counts. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you do have the count, which is part of it, but it's more of a ensemble cast of monsters. But yes, I did love that one growing up. But yeah, I know I keep ping-ponging, sorry guys, but just wrapping up the whole Lost Boys reference here. Yeah, young people tend to view themselves as invincible. Like, for some reason, everyone has this crazy idea that it's the whole me against the world. Nothing's ever going to take me down. I'm young. I have my health. Which, it still fits in there, but I think we only had just that one motorbike scene at the beginning of the film where they're along the beach, and then where they're riding out to the bridge. So the teenagers are more of like an in-betweeners, which, you know, they're not really kids, but they're not men yet. They're trapped in between, and they're still technically kids if you want to see it that way. Honestly, if I had my choice, I mean, I don't know if you guys have your ideal age. If hypothetically you were to become a vampire, what age you would want to be forever. But if I had my choice, I would want to be trapped at 25. You're not too old, you're not too young. You're old enough to drink, old enough to drive. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a good age. You fit in with the college crowd still, so that makes for good hunting grounds, which reminds me really quick about Max's video store. I never thought about it, but back in the 80s, even in the 90s, whenever one would have to sign up for a membership at a video store, you would have to present your ID. So they had your address, they had your phone number, they had all of this personal information about you, which no one really considered, but that also makes for a good, I guess, vampire hunting wish list. When the pickings are slim, you know exactly where to go to pick someone out. And I don't think there was ever a video store slasher film where the killer worked at a video shop, but I don't know, that kind of strikes me as a good retro or throwback idea right now. Let's see. Where did I leave off in the chat? Monster Squad. Well, they usually depict vampires as beautiful. Yeah, that's true. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first time that we got a monstrous look at vampires, which Josh Whedon said that it was also part of an inspiration for his Buffy the Vampire series. No, as far as Jerry Dandridge, and they also used the same term "vamping out," which is the first time that it was ever used as the Lost Boys, but it's also borrowed by Buffy. Yeah, maybe that's why they added the sex appeal. I mean, I can see it. It's definitely one of those big summer films. And I think Lethal Weapon was about the same time. I should have Googled the year before jumping on, but there's a marquee scene in the background where the two main characters are walking on screen, and you read The Lost Boys. I believe the film of the summer is what it reads. Yeah, Radu wasn't pretty. Bela Lugosi was still handsome. He kept that attractive face. And another thing that I did forget to mention is the vampires in this film, even though they have trendy clothes, but they never changed their attire. It's the same wardrobe the entire film. Same thing with Bela Lugosi, so does being undead mean that you never have to change your clothes? There's never a laundry day. It's part of the convenience of being alive forever. But yeah, I do like Radu, especially the Nosferatu reference with the long fingers. Radu has always sounded like pasta sauce. Yeah, I can see that, ragu. I loved Subspecies growing up. That was definitely one of my favorite full moon films. Even before I officially discovered Full Moon, which was years later. But I love those films. Radu, old world style, yeah. We still have Lugosi that fits into that. And I did forget to mention, we also have a Lucy. That's the mom's name. Now it comes to me now that I'm making the Dracula references. The mom character was actually named for Lucy of the Bram Stoker's Dracula. So, took a while to click. It finally came back to me. The Frog brothers, you have Edgar and Allan Frog, which were named for Edgar Allan Poe. So the film does make the rounds. If no anime counts, Vampire Vampire Hunter D is the ultimate 80s vampire film for me. I haven't seen that one in a long time either. I didn't discover Vampire Hunter D until college. But yeah, that one's a good one also. I don't remember if it's from the 80s. It's also an anime. I believe it's called Lamia, which I believe is also translates to vampire. But yes, so definitely video store. That would have been a good hunting grounds, which I never thought about that. That's very clever. We also have the quirky grandfather figure, which is part of the comedic relief, which I think is a good mix in the film. I think it's a good mix in the film because there aren't really too many vampire hunting scenes or death scenes other than the showdown at the end. But Grandpa keeps it light. I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier. You have the whole fact that he subscribes to TV Guide even though he doesn't own a television. He has this beautiful classic car, which he goes and turns on the engine from time to time. And according to him, that's the closest that he plans on getting to town. So it tells us he's a recluse, especially that one line about when Max is coming over to dinner and they're having company again. And Lucy states, well, the last time we had company in the home is when Mom died. And he says, yes, and now we're having company again. So, I mean, he definitely leads the beat of his own drum. Doesn't seem to like people coming around too much, but no one ever really talks about Lucy and the grandsons coming to live with him other than the whole reference to her being the only woman he knows that didn't have her situation improved by becoming a divorcee. Yes, he knew the entire time, and I'm surprised he never lets on about it other than the ending scene, which the one thing he never liked about Santa Carla, I think it was, is all the damn vampires. I love Vamp, Last Boys and Vamp, and the two are the two best 80s vampire films. Gotta love Grandpa. Grandpa was a lot of fun. Yeah, he doesn't have too many scenes, but he stands out. Grandpa's car makes 2 appearances, but yes, using Windex as aftershave. I totally forgot about that. I just remembered it. I thought that was funny, especially the fact that he has marijuana growing in the kitchen window. So he's a product of his own time. I don't know if I would consider Grandpa a favorite character, but he's definitely fun. He's definitely one of the standouts. I do like David. Max we don't see too much of, even though he's the vampire leader or the sire or the father vampire, basically the father figure. Which the only time we ever see the boys themselves as well as Max together is when he shoos them out of the video store. Which also serves as the introduction when Lucy walks in to not only apply for a job, but to potentially look for a lost boy's mother, which, I don't know, would you say that that's some sort of a pun or some sort of a purposeful lead in? Let's see. So the film does feature the 2 Coreys. This is actually the first film where they were both featured together, and as far as I can tell, they only did 7 films together. If you don't count the documentary, the Tale of the 2 Coreys, which I really don't count. So I guess they only did about 6 films together. They did License to Drive, which is another one that I loved growing up. I thought that was a lot of fun. Dream a Little Dream I didn't watch until I was in high school. I didn't discover that until later, and I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was doo-doo. Blown Away, I've never seen. I believe Corey Haim also appears in Lost Boys: The Tribe along with Corey Feldman, which shameless shameless cash grab. We did not need that movie at all. Busted, I've never heard about until today. And then there's Dream a Little Dream 2. I don't know. I think I would have to go with, at least as far as with the ones I've seen, I'd have to go with License to Drive and The Lost Boys being the two better of the films that they made together. And oh yeah, I did forget to mention the whole David's look in the film, because obviously Kiefer Sutherland isn't naturally a bleach blonde, but part of the inspiration from that was also Billy Idol, which I can definitely see. He was one of the bad boys of the 80s. He was also prone to wearing leather jackets. And then there's, I think I touched on it earlier, there's that whole speculation where Max had told David to supposedly turn David and Sam into vampires in order to get a hold of Lucy, which he wanted as a partner. And there's been debate on that also, whether or not David is the true villain of the film. So I don't know how you guys would weigh in, or if you've heard that argument before, that Michael is supposedly the true bad guy here, because not only does he try to steal David's girl, he attacks his own brother when he's a half vampire. Nanook is the one who defends Sam. And David is basically the one, I guess you could say, following orders or doing what he's being told to do, which David really doesn't become violent until, I forget who played what the character's name was. David's brother was murdered by, I believe, Jason Patric, and that's really when he turns on them, and they come back to attack in that final fight scene at the end of the film. And I believe that's also the first time in the entire movie we see the vampires flying. Like, it's implied at the beginning of the film, that beach kill scene with the roof being torn off of the vehicle, and we kind of have like this crane shot where they're being pulled up into the air, but we never see anyone flying. There's also that scene of the boardwalk where once they're shooed away from was it the merry-go-round? The carousel horses. No, I totally said that wrong. The carousel horses. And we hear an implied bat sound with this, overhead pan shot, which also implies flying. But we really don't other than Michael kind of doing this weird half floating thing in his early stages of being a half vampire. We really don't see any of the vampires flying until the fight scenes at the end of the movie, which I can understand. It was intended to keep the budget down. They saved the budget for the final showdown. So, and I think the ending is great. I mean, I love the fight scenes, especially the tub full of garlic. They touch on vampires imploding and exploding, which we do get to see both. I love that one line, "Death by Stereo," which, if I remember correctly, was also a band. So, somewhat of a giggle moment there. Let's see, I love the fact, Eric, oh, okay, still talking about figures. The Legend has a genuine online beef with Corey Feldman. You should get him to tell you about it sometime. No, I've never heard of. That's news to me. That's new to me entirely. I know people like talking about the fake argument between Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric, because Sutherland was dating Julia Roberts at the time, which I don't even see them as a couple, but they broke up, and then Patrick later dated her. one of my favorite films seen this opening night. Love Nanook, him along with Thor. Yes, the Max's dog. And I was half curious earlier today. I don't know what you guys would think about this, because it isn't mentioned in the film, but rose briars are also known to be used in defense against vampires. It's part of the whole mythology. So I don't know if I'm just overreaching where thorn is named after something that potentially could be used to kill a vampire. If that was another purposeful reference. Let's see. Bad Moon. I don't remember if I've seen that. And Shari and Prey are the best monster fighting good boys. I love Bordello of Blood, and Feldman was in that one, yeah. I liked Bordello of Blood, another vampire movie, but I can't remember if that had... No, the Two Corys were not part of that one. It was one of those Tales from the Crypt films, which I remember it being a lot better back in the day. I loved Bordello of Blood because it was the Vampire Night sequel, Demon Knight sequel. But going back and rewatching it, it is so cheesy and so campy, which it adds to the film, but I think it also hurts it to a degree. Thor in Bad Moon was great. Oh, okay, I got my dog characters mixed up there. Same, that's my favorite line. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have a favorite scene? I mean, I know we went over what you consider to be the more iconic scenes, and I guess those generally tend to be everyone's favorites. But yeah, oh, I did forget a talking point for Michael being a villain, a potential villain, is he kills off David and his entire family. So, I don't know. That technically that was done unprovoked, I believe, if I remember correctly. We went over Tim Capello. We went over the potential spinoff of The Lost Girls. Let's see, we did go over the likening of Peter Pan to vampires, which that is one that never dawned on me. Oh, there we go. So, Santa Clara, of course, a fictionalized town, which is basically Santa Carla, which was actually referred to as the murder capital of the world at the time. But the only active serial killer that I remember at that time was David Kemper. I know there were two other guys that were on the loose at the time. And if I remember correctly, between the three of them, there was a total of 68 serial killings. They also had to petition for permission to film in Santa Carla, the vampire film. I guess the city itself, since they already had a bad reputation, they didn't want anything potentially making it darker than it already was. Yes, I've heard that argument against Daniel. Do you agree or disagree with that one? But yes, I've heard that one also, that Daniel pretty much sweeps in and did everything unprovoked and started attacking people. In the Hammer movies, yes, thorn bushes to kill Dracula because it was... Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Part of the crown of thorns. That's clever. Lost Boys, I think, also touches on running water as one of the things as a vampire's weakness. Oh, you made the journey to all of the locations, which were out in LA from the cave and the train bridge. Yeah, the bridge is still there. Yes, I read about that, it being now a walking path, which I think is pretty cool. You can have the experience of walking over the bridge rather than I guess dangling from it, which is potentially safer. Santa Cruz. There we go. I kept saying it wrong. The boardwalk and the pier. Two of the filming locations, I think, were destroyed in earthquakes, which the... Yes, Ed Kemper. I'm not sure if I misstated that earlier. Can't really see Daniel as the villain in Cobra Kai, but it can certainly be argued that he's kind of a... Yeah, yeah, I think it's an interesting... And maybe that would be a good stream to do later on, is the people we never considered as villains, but they have that counter argument against them type stream. But excuse me. Yeah, I think the only real vampire reference in the entire film was Grandpa's line about, at the end that Grandpa makes, is all the thing he never liked were all the damn vampires. But other than the Frog Brothers implying the vampire problem, we really don't get too many vampire references. That's kind of a funny Bushes thing. Oh yeah, they go over the stereotypical garlic, which was rendered useless when Max was invited into the home by Michael. The reflection thing, we get a reference to that twice. We have the expandable mirror shoved into Max's face, and then I think it's the fact that Michael was a half vampire as the reason why his reflections is semi-transparent when Sam first discovers that his brother's becoming a vampire. And I guess circling back, I did forget that, would you guys consider the hotel scene to be one of the iconic scenes as well? Definitely the thing with the bottle of blood. And if I remember correctly, it's implied that Michael is drinking David's blood, but shouldn't it have been Max's blood, because he's the whole leader of the vampire clan? There's also the scene with the maggots, which I didn't know that unless they're feeding or have any reason to be mobile, maggots pretty much just are stationary. So in order to get them to move for that box of rice close-up scene, lemon juice had been sprinkled onto them, which I don't know if that is actually harmful to maggots, or if the whole animal film guidelines was in use at the time in film. So I definitely should have looked into that beforehand. I didn't think about it until right now. Judd being the villain in Pet Sematary, I can definitely see. I never thought about that one. He's pretty much responsible for most... Yes. Yeah, when he introduces Louis Creed. He was pretty much the downfall of the family. I never thought about it that way. David Kemper, probably because we're talking about... yeah, the vampire David. I didn't think about that. Same. Let's see. One of my favorite scenes is when David meets his end. You can see the white light on his face, and the music playing makes the scene really intense and emotional. Yeah, most definitely, probably Max's blood. I think so, but for forever and ever, I've always felt that it was implied that it was David's blood. And I think that because we didn't find out that Max was the whole leader until the end of the film, we always see David in the lead, front and center, for the majority of the film. Yes, believe it or not, I did not know that for the longest time. Alex Winter being the same guy, but the curly hair is very telltale. Unfortunately, yes. Did you see the sequels to The Lost Boys? Are they worth watching? I don't think they are. I mean, we didn't need to turn The Lost Boys into a franchise. The tribe suffered several production problems in the making of the film, poor writing as well. It was a weak plot. I do like I think it's the second film, the second sequel, which we see Corey Haim, and it's implied that he got turned into a vampire eventually. But other than that, I think the films are pretty skippable. I didn't think they were that great. I've only seen them once. I don't consider them worth rewatching. They don't have rewatchability. Not the way The Lost Boys does. Well, unless you count Dracula, Keanu Reeves should have done a vampire film. I mean, technically he was in Bram Stoker's Dracula, even though he didn't play a vampire. Daniel was the villain in Karate Kid. Oops, sorry, I lost my spot here in the chat. I couldn't watch the Lost Boys sequels. I thought they were terrible. I think quite a bit of people feel that way, which is a shame because someone had gifted me a copy of The Tribe years ago, and I was excited to watch it until I had caught it on streaming on Netflix, and luckily I never opened my copy of it, so it's still sealed, running around somewhere in my film stacks. Yeah, he was in one of the Dracula remakes. I love how they added the love story to Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, I know I'm getting off topic slightly, but I like how they added to the story, as well as the whole reference to, I know I'm going to mispronounce it. I always say it wrong. Vlad Tepes, the original Dracula. It is hard to think of a horror series where the sequels are better, but I wouldn't want to write all of them off. No, I mean, there are good ones. People debate me on this. I love the Fright Night sequel more than the original Fright Night. I think that was a good sequel. I can't think of any other vampire sequels right off the top of my head that I think were just as good as the original. Let's see, and it would... Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing. And it would be hard to top the original Lost Boys. I think so. There's so much that's definitive about the film. I mean, it's definitely one of the 80s go-to films that I think about. Kelly and Joy Minter from Nightmare 5 and People Under the Stairs is... What? Quite high in the Lost Boys cast? Even when she's in the video stare for about 5 seconds, I never took notice, truth be told. So on that, I really can't comment. Sorries. I can't believe I forgot Keanu Reeves was in Bram Stoker's Dracula. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't played an actual vampire. No, he hasn't. Vlad Tempest, is that the correct? Tepish. There we go. I know someone corrected me on that in a previous stream, but I can never remember it. Vlad Tepish. Friday the 13th are a mixed bag, but I do prefer 3, 4, 6, and 8 over the original. I'm not as well versed in Friday the 13th as I am with the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I was excited to watch the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, but the final showdown was a total letdown. It wasn't as... I don't know, it just didn't have that buildup that I thought it was going to have. I just was disappointed with it. let's see. I think I did touch on the film novelization of the book earlier, which, to my understanding, that's become quite the collector's item. When I was doing my online search, I wish I had grabbed a clip for a screen share, but the bottle, the I guess the vampire blood bottle prop has also become quite the collector's item as well. I don't remember what I saw it last going for, but it did fetch a pretty penny. As far as film novelizations, I would definitely love to get a hold of the Lost Boys one. I would definitely like to be able to read and get more insight as to what the cut scenes were. The only one that I know of is the ending scene where instead of the that final line from Grandpa, I believe it was supposed to be a cut to the underground hotel where we're supposed to get a glimpse of a portrait of Max back from the early 1900s, implying how old he's really been, or how long he's really been around. But as far as novelizations, I would still love to get a copy of Cat People as well. I mean, I know that's off topic, but I would love to get a copy of Cat People and a replacement novelization for Demon Knight. That was definitely one of my go-to films that I loved watching. One of my 90s films for sure. Let's see. I was surprised when I found out. I didn't know this until this morning as well, but apparently Corey Feldman had his drug problem dating back to Lost Boys, which I thought wasn't until later in his career, but apparently he would show up to set and got himself fired for having an all-night binge. He was falling asleep during filming, which luckily enough he managed to get rehired after apologizing and promising never to show up to work in that condition ever again. So I don't think I could picture anyone else other than Corey Feldman as one of the Frog Brothers. And I also forgot to mention Feldman based his frog character off of Rambo. And I do not recall the name of the guy who played Alan Frog, but he based his character off of Chuck Norris. Yeah, pronounced Tepish. Okay, let's see. I've gone over those comments already. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my allergies right now, so I'm stopping to catch my breath. So I don't know if any of you guys noticed it. If not, no big deal. There's also, I didn't do much research into this, so I don't really think it's too much worth mentioning, but supposedly there's this subtext of Sam having been a gay character. And supposedly this ideology came about with the Rob Lowe abs poster that is hanging in Sam's bedroom, hanging off the door, also I guess to imply in the closet. And he's also one of the most fashionable dressers in the entire film. So I don't know. I think that's reaching. I don't agree with it. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that. I can't really go into too much detail because I really didn't look into it too much, but I thought it was one of the strangest things as far as part of the film. And I wish I had gotten a chance to watch the Lost Boy documentary before doing this stream, which is called Blood-Sucking Cinema, which I definitely want to track down and watch later, but I wish I had totally found out about it sooner in order to get a viewing of it. Let's see. It was a good time for Gary Oldman. Sorry, it was good. It's time for Gary Oldman as an amazing actor, from Sid Vicious to that. Okay, Tepish means impaler, and Yossi is right about pronunciation. Yeah, it's one of those names that I always get messed up. I always try to pronounce it the way it's spelled, which I know is off. Yes, Keanu Reeves was great in Speed. I think that should have propelled him also. I think he also did a good job in Constantine, but for some reason he really didn't seem to get a resurgence until the John Wick films, which I love, but I don't know, I think he should have gotten his kickback a lot sooner in his career. Yeah, Rambo and Chuck together at last, who knew? Yeah, I think it plays very well, and I also forgot to mention, because you don't really see much reference to them in the film, but the two sleeping hippie parents in the comic shop in the movie, and then of course you have the two sons that are all gung-ho about everything. I don't know, I think that's a very interesting contrast. Like, one is all about fighting and defense, the other is all about peace and love. And I always forget the Superman reference. I mean, obviously they work in a comic book shop, but truth, justice, and the American way. I always forget that Superman reference. I love Cat People, the original and remake, especially with, yes, I love the soundtrack. It's one of my favorite soundtracks, and that's also how I discovered Giorgio, is it Giorgio or Giorgio Moroder? He became one of my favorite composers because of that soundtrack. And so Cat People, the 82 film, that's actually one of my favorite films. I like how it really makes reference to the original film, but then it branches off and it becomes its own thing, which I think makes it a very good film in its own. So I consider it more of a, not really a remake or a reboot, but I mean, sequel in name. Not really sequel in name. I mean, hopefully you guys get what I'm trying to say. I keep muddling that up. But a remake in name. Yeah, he's very versatile. I love Gary Oldman. Yeah, I liked Speed at the cinema. Hey, Ben, I just saw you. Yes, he was big from the Matrix films. Yes, I totally forgot about those. Those were, I want to say those were groundbreaking films. They definitely used special effects that weren't in common use until that movie was out. Don't mind Bill and Ted, but the last one was hot garbage. Bit silly now. Every film has to have a gay character in it. Yeah, but I disagree about the Lost Boys being homoerotic. I've heard that reference before, but I totally disagree with it. I mean, I'll agree with Freddy's Revenge because it does have so many references, but if you're looking for references in Lost Boys, they're very subtle and few and far between, which is why I disagree with that argument. The Matrix movies solidified Keanu as an A-list celeb. Yeah, I totally forgot those. They were big at the time for sure. Reaching for Sure, that was the Set Dressers. Yeah, I consider it Reaching as well, as far as the gay reference. Yes, I love his scores. I guess it's also why I tend to lean more towards Claudio Simonetti as well. I tend to lean more towards Italian film scores. The sequel, I mean. Oh, missed one. Just the 80s. They made a documentary. Yeah, that one has quite a few. There's the one that I haven't seen, and it's hard to track down in my opinion, is Her Name Was Nancy. I very rarely see mention of that. I would love to own a copy of it. The Nightmare one, I think, is one of the better ones out there. Yes, the Scream Queen, the one about Freddy's Revenge actor. I would recommend watching it. I think it's still on Shudder. It's a good documentary. It really paints the picture at the time, especially what the actor was going through. To be frank, the boy from Freddy's Revenge had the best scream ever put to film as a guy. Yeah, usually whenever I hear men screaming in film, it's done more as a comedic. Yes, about Heather Langenkamp. Yeah, her name is Nancy. I don't know if it's out of print. I haven't seen that one in ages. Oh, I did forget to mention about the Lost Boys. So, I never knew this, but apparently the film took 21 days to shoot. The filming began June 2nd of 1986 and ended June 23rd of 1986. But I don't know. It's in my mind. I felt because it's so well put together. I always thought more time had been spent filming the movie. Like at least 6 months is what I had assumed. Oh, and cutting back to the bridge scene, which we mentioned earlier, I totally forgot to mention. So I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but the order in which the vampires jump off of the bridge, that's also the same order in which the vampires died in that showdown scene at the end of the film. But yeah, I mean, when they're talking about vampire weaknesses, I mean, they're totally foreshadowing about the possibilities, which I love how, once again, we got to see the vampires implode and explode. I don't think it's ever been shown in any other vampire film. I think that's unique to The Lost Boys, but I could totally be wrong. And the first time Michael actually goes out with the guys, where he's hanging out with them under that bridge scene, we see Michael fall, but we never really get any indication of how crazy that night was. It just cuts to a scene of him falling onto his bed, and then he's of course all groggy, tired, sensitivity to light. But other than the more obvious being transparent reflection, yes, I love Claudio Simonetti. I love his work with Dario Argento. I think they pair very well together. Oh, yes, they do. I totally forgot about that. And that's one of my go-to films of the 90s also. Yeah, they do explode. Dusk Till Dawn also has a Peter Cushing reference. Let's see, we already touched on Grandpa, which I think he's the quirkiest character in the entire film. I mean, for me, he's one of the standouts. Other than David being a favorite character, Grandpa definitely has his own place in the film. I didn't touch too much on the wardrobe, but I do love Star's outfit. That sparkly skirt that she wears. I think that's nice. Really, really gorgeous. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath, guys. Yeah, those are all the notes I have. I don't know if there's anything you guys feel that I missed or that you would like to touch upon. The soundtrack for those old Italian movies are something that really hasn't been replicated today. It makes them pretty special. I agree. You definitely know an Italian film by its film score when you hear one. And let's see, I did miss in my notes doubling back to the Lost Boys soundtrack, which I think is also one of those iconic film soundtracks of the 80s. But Michael McMahon, I believe the song is I Need You to I Need You Now. He did an industrial version of the song in 2008, and then that same song was used in True Blood, the 2009 show. It was done as a dark country version, which I haven't seen too much of True Blood. I can't comment on that one, really. Some of those Italian giallo scenes are great. The soundtrack for this, maybe. I think they go hand in hand. The original giallo trademarks of usually there being a supermodel. There's also, for some odd reason, usually a scene with either, if not a pet, a child. And why for that, I'm not too sure. What do you think of the big CGI scene in Matrix Reloaded when Neo fought 100 Smiths with a pole? That scene is often mocked for its cartoonish CGI, but I thought it was pretty alright. I haven't gone back and watched that in a long time. At the time, I remember it being a pretty intense scene. I thought it went well with the film. But CGI doesn't always age well, especially with the way things are always advancing. I love Goblin music and Fabio Frizzetti, who did the best Lucio Fulci scores. I only have one Lucio film score, and that's the one for Zombie, which I love. Frizzetti is touring at the moment. I know I just pronounced that wrong. Let's see, the Lost Boys soundtrack is outstanding too. Can you ever hear People Are Strange without thinking about it? I think Echo and the Bunnyman did the cover for that. And then, of course, in the hotel scene, we have a Jim Morrison reference, which I feel was done on purpose. Played in the UK. I don't know if the original Goblin members are still touring. I know I want to say they first made their first US tour, I want to say around 2010. And I was lucky to see them at the Tomahawk in Austin, Texas. I even got a signed poster by the bandmates. I got to attend the pre-show meet and greet as well as the pre-show sound check. But yeah, I can't think of too many other things about the Lost Boy. I think I've pretty much covered it all. Excuse me, unless there's something you guys think that I missed or feel that I missed. Let's see. I Still Believe. Yes, that's one of the standout scenes for me. If I remember correctly, and this is just according to what I was told by elders at the time, but supposedly the Lost Boys soundtrack was also one of the heavier played soundtracks used by strippers of the 80s, which I can kind of see that. I saw some vinyls of tributes to Italian horror movie soundtracks. I think I saw Frizzy's name on the Beyond vinyl. That's how I want to look cut with a saxophone. Yeah. Yeah, he definitely had a look about him. How or why it became one of the definitive scenes, I really do not know, but it's definitely one of the go-tos. But yeah, circling back to pre-stream, I really don't have too much planned for this weekend. I mean, do you guys have anything going on? Let's see, I did mention that I was wanting to watch Beetlejuice. I forget who it was that mentioned it wasn't all that great. I would like to get back into editing more videos. I am having an issue right now with getting my computer to connect to the internet. Yeah, Zombie and the Beyond. Yeah, I forgot about the Beyond. That's a good one. I thought he was going to steal Star. um, oh, yes, I forgot to mention. So, I don't know if any of you guys plan on dropping by for tomorrow's stream. I'm doing a watch along for the 2018 Halloween. So, kind of referencing the whole September wane. I'm hoping to get through as many Halloween films in the month of November as I'm able to. We'll see Beetlejuice 2, but haven't got high hopes. I really didn't either. I know the Hocus Pocus sequel, I never bothered to watch it because I thought it wasn't going to be that great. And I later heard it wasn't. So I wasn't really too keen on watching that one. But I think it's also one of those films that it just took too long to get its sequel. And who knows if it had been produced earlier, if it might have been better. How Violent is Beetlejuice 2? Can I Take My Kids? I imagine it's along the same as the original, or am I over guessing there? But yeah. Actually, I thought Beetlejuice 2 was too late. I haven't actually seen it, but I saw one reviewer say it was a good sequel that doesn't ruin the memory of the first Beetlejuice. Well, that's good. Good to know. Yeah, I really don't make it out to the cinema too often, but it's one of the films I was looking forward to. So it's one of those that I would make an exception to venture out for. Well, they handled the original. I can't see that, I'm sorry. Look up Sutter Kane, Cry Little Sister, best cover. And I'm guessing it's PG-13, so I'm not too sure. It's fine. Yeah, PG-13 tends to be pretty mild these days. I remember, I think in the 80s you still got like some light cursing, but they've really tightened the reins on that these days. But yeah, I think I've gotten to a pretty good wrap-up point. I really don't have too much to say about the Lost Boys. Okay. Yes, Sutter Kane in the Mouth of Madness. Okay, I totally botched that. But yeah, I think I'm at a good wrap up point. It's getting to where my sinuses are making it a little bit more troublesome for me to breathe. And I also haven't had lunch, so. But yes, I always enjoy conversing with you guys. You guys are a fun crowd. Last film I saw was Long Legs. Surprisingly, I liked it. I've heard mixed bag on that one. I've had people say that it was great, and then a few other people say that wasn't too fantastic. Original Beetlejuice was only PG and has an F-bomb. Cage was really creepy in it. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, sorry. Fun chatting with you all. Yeah, the vid spells it with a C, but it's worth It's worth it. Mouth of Madness is an incredible film. I love that one. That one's really good. It's one of the ones I don't remember too often, but it definitely has rewatchability. That one's a great film. The Oz sequel was really dark. I don't remember that one. Same. I'm just drawing a blank. In the Mouth of Madness is phenomenal. I think it was very well written. But alrighty. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a stream and jump off. But thank you to everyone for stopping by. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. You guys are always loads of fun. I haven't thought up what next weekend's stream is going to be, but I have time to think about that. So we'll see what we have in store. But yes, I did do a watch along of In the Mouth of Madness. That one was fun. Probably because if you watch the trailer beforehand, it takes a different turn. Nicolas Cage is the killer. WS the reference. Cheers. Yeah, thanks to everybody for stopping by. I'm going to jump off and call it a stream. But yeah, you guys are always a lot of fun. I always enjoy hanging out with you, and I always look forward to these Saturday streams. But yeah, we'll see what other films we can get into. So I think I'm going to post it on my community tabs to take a poll of which films you guys would like me to do more film discussions on. Watch Killers. I think I mentioned that last time. I keep forgetting it, but I need to get around to it. And I just took a screenshot of it. Thanks to Horror Retrospective and the chat. Yeah, I always love these conversations with you guys, and I always appreciate you taking the time out of your day to stop by and hang out. But as always, that is all I have for you guys for today, and I will talk to you later. Have a great weekend.